Welcome back, everyone. It's a little delay, but good to see you all. And, the usual welcome, happy April, all those sort of wonderful things. So today I have a very special, yet could be maybe a little controversial episode. The other thing too is I'm wearing some merch, but we'll get into that later. I'm not gonna ruin things. But we'll start out kind of the usual, briefly discuss some upcoming episodes and guests. And then we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you how little money I make on YouTube. It's kind of a running joke. So I'll go over that really quickly. But my CPMs are improving, which means advertisers are seeing a quality, abundant quality, but whatever. And then I'll talk about some current projects. Finally made some progress there, and I'll explain. And then the fourth part of this broadcast will be, make sure you look up yourself on ChatGPT, because you might be surprised. AI is more fallible than I think any human I've ever seen, but I'll show you a personal example. Then I'm gonna talk about the nature of reality, while slightly dipping my toe in the culture war. But trust me, it will be worth it. It will be worth it. Then I want to talk about some new Patreon benefits really quickly. I don't want to waste your time. Then I'll get to the UAP hearings today. There's really not much to say, and I think you can figure out what I'm going to say. Then I'm going to talk about merch. And then lastly, we'll just go to questions. So there is one segment on this that's going to be like 24 minutes. So my apologies in advance, but make sure you watch to the end of that, because totally worth it. Okay, I already have comments. I'm just going to quickly look at it. Oh yeah, so I'm just putting up Frank's. Yeah, look, I have no way to independently verify, but virtually every abductee, contactee talks about that. Oh, hey Oracle, good to see you. I'll take it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to issue a trigger warning, literally. So let's get back to upcoming episodes. So this will be pretty quick and easy stuff. I just have to navigate around a bunch of stuff. And here we go. So I have another interview with Debbie Jordan Caldwell to look at beyond Bud Hopkins' book Intruders, what's been happening to her since, and we'll get into more of that. Another Morehouse episode, maybe. So the Debbie Caldwell or Jordan Caldwell episode is in the bag. It's done. It's processed. It's uploaded. No issues. David Morehouse, Dr. Morehouse is sometimes available, sometimes he's not. So I'm scheduled to meet with him on Sunday, and it'll be pretty quick turnaround. But this one will be another interesting one, where he takes a group of remote viewers to Peru and then talks about the everything that they kind of detected there and whatnot. I also have an interview with, again, this is not until June, with Dr. Tom Campbell, who was associated intimately with the Gateway Project at the Monroe Institute back in the 70s. So that'll happen in June. And then Dr. Gary Nolan, who you all know, his eminence precedes himself, or his reputation precedes himself. So for those who don't know, he is a professor at the Stanford Medical School. He's a geneticist, and he also does work on the side for the government in terms of looking at Havana syndrome, as well as similar brain issues, or not issues, but changes in the brain structure, where at the caudate-Pitoman level, for not only people who've gone through Havana syndrome, but also UFO experiencers, as well as remote viewers. So it'll be some interesting stuff. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go back to here. And if I'm looking at my screen, it's my burgeoning staff. is feeding me grapes right now. You just don't see me eating them, but I'm expanding the media empire. Obviously not. I have to do all this stuff myself. So if I'm looking not at the camera and at the screen, that's why. Okay, so all right, this will be quick. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. Before I get into this, let's see what comments I have. Yeah, Oracle, I said hello, but I'll say hello again. It's good to see you as always. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering why. Usually I slip in like a 2-hour interview with folks when I send them the Zoom invite, but they sent me the Zoom invite and they scheduled 2 hours. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. But anyway, it'll be good stuff. All right. So in terms of how we're doing with the channel. Okay. So let's get out of here. Go to the dashboard. And then we will go quickly to video analytics. We'll look at, actually, we're not looking at individual. Okay. And we'll go to, you too can make $144.51 with a year and a half of work. So, by the way, someone was very nice to me and gave me a massive amount of fan funding. So I appreciate that. All right. So again, I'm just kind of slowly limping along. But what's important here is this. This is cost per mil, which is for 1,000 views playback for ads that are playing. As you can see, I started, $3.91. Had a really good period. But if you look at the trend line, now we're pushing into, $14+. So all that means is that advertisers are bidding higher for the content. So they're recognizing it's good content, especially at a time when people are pulling ads. That's a really good sign. So, we'll just try to keep the faith and keep going. So that's all for that. I'm not going to bore you with all those details, but I like to share that stuff with the audience so they can see how it looks. Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. No worries. So next piece. All right. Current projects. Again, this will be a really quick one. I finally got some writing done on my novel, Wormwood Down. I have 3 chapters left to write. Now, granted, I'm going to have to go through the whole thing again, beef it up, revise it, make it better. But 90% of the battle is just getting the damn thing on paper, and the thing is mostly on paper. So I'm very happy to have gotten that far. All right. I'm going to try to read really fast on this one, but look yourself up on ChatGPT, because you might actually be pretty surprised with the nonsense that comes up on that thing. So where is it? I can barely see. I think it's this one. Okay, so I just said, who is Sean Hazlett? And of course, ChatGPT is, I'm sorry, but as a language model, I don't have access to information about every individual in the world without further context. So I ask, okay, fine, the author. Sean Patrick Hazlett is an author and philosopher based in Virginia, USA. And I've written several books. Apparently, something about humanism, which obviously the link doesn't exist. They can't find the link. So that's good. So the epistemology of resistance. Apparently, I'm an author of that. Again, no link, just absolute nonsense. I write a lot about anti-capitalism, that sort of stuff that you all associate with me, obviously. And again, it tries to link to a page on my own personal website that doesn't even exist. So ChatGPT didn't get me right, has me as a left-wing radical academic, which, of course, obviously, I mean, you can't tell. I perfectly fit there. So, the last three links cannot be found. I apologize for the inconvenience. As an AI language model, I have access to current state of the web, blah, blah, blah. Okay, your knowledge on the topic is inaccurate as I am the author under discussion. I apologize for any confusion, right? So, and then, of course, the link is only accurate for my website. And then it just keeps going, right? I also try to give it wiki, and then it tells me you can't use wiki. And then I try to show it the Amazon page. And then I ask again, and it still says, the politics of humanism, and again, they're all incorrect. And then I ask, how can I fix it? I tell it's 100% false. So it gets a little bit better by just truncating the bio that it fabricated for me. And I have to tell them explicitly, I did not write the politics of humanism and debate, the philosophical roots of anti-capitalism, and the epistemology of resistance. Like, I don't know. I'll just throw my picture down here. All right, so this is kind of where I finally got it to go. But but of course, I don't have any articles appearing in The Hill, the Wall Street Journal, or anything like that. So, whatever. So, I hope you enjoyed that. Just check your Chat GPT. Look yourself up because it will be wrong. And not only will it be wrong, it will be wildly wrong, as it was for me. Maybe not. Maybe it's okay. Okay, I got a few more comments here. So Nolan is like the indie endorser that bridges the mainstream view of the phenomenon with the hardcore enthusiast. Definitely, yeah, he's a good dude. So again, I only have him for an hour, so I have to be super focused on the questions I ask him. Yeah, it's actually horrifying that, like, even about me, it was wildly off. Yeah, yeah, it's almost like somebody had fabricated it. I mean, it's really creepy stuff. All right, so let me get to the next topic. Okay. Yeah, let's how do I do this? Let me start with this. Trigger warning. Okay. So I'm going to dip my toe into the culture war. I mean, it's pretty clear which side I'm on, but I'm not trying to take a side. I'm just trying to, I have a link to it, unfortunately, that just demonstrates I'm part of the simulation, if there is a simulation. So, this one, okay, so just a warning, this is like 24 minutes long, and I go through a lot of stuff, but just, I tantalize you at the beginning, and then I go through the whole thing for people who aren't familiar with it, about the controversy I'm about to hit, but then I get to a story that is well worth it. So, without further ado, I'm rolling the dice on this one. Rolling the dice. So as I continue to develop this show, the more people I interview, the more I begin to question my own notions of what is reality. And I was talking to someone who watches the show and who actually helped me on my merchandise shop on Spreadshop a few weekends ago. And that's Edward Palmer. And one of the things that I mentioned to Edward when we were talking was there's a lot of people in my life who've done really good things for me. And in a strange way, they tend to end up doing really well just by sheer coincidence, right? But just to give you a quick list of people. So when I was in high school, I applied to the military academies. I ended up being Senator Joe Biden's principal nominee to the Air Force Academy, which I subsequently didn't attend. I went to a different school instead, but he's now the president of the United States. My thesis advisor became Obama's defense secretary about 8 years after I had worked for him. He was my thesis advisor. The boss who wrote my recommendation to business school is now number 2 at the Department of Homeland Security. The company commander who I served as an executive officer for just made 1-star general. And this goes on and on for people in my life who particularly have helped me out. Now, it doesn't really rub off on me. I kind of wish it did, but sometimes it rubs the other way. So, and I want to be very careful here because the point of this particular vignette is not to delve into the culture war, though it does have elements of the culture war. When I go into this, I want to be very clear about that because I don't want to alienate anybody. Regardless, I don't know if you've all been following the whole Bud Light controversy, but if you have, I'm going to lead with this. 32 years ago, I got into a physical altercation with the current CEO of Anheuser-Busch. And this story will be about that. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about the controversy, because there's a few things I want to make clear. And the other thing, too, is Brendan Whitworth, who I'm going to relate that example about. This was 32 years ago. I'm sure he's very different as a human being, and I bear no ill will. But the purpose of me telling this story is how it sometimes feels like many of us are living in a matrix or in just this kind of contrived reality that these things keep coming up and there's so many absurd coincidences. Regardless, let's get started on the story. And the other thing is, as I talk about this controversy, again, Dylan Mulvaney, who is kind of the lightning rod for it, I bear no ill will toward her. Where I have an issue is, as a company, you don't wade into the culture war. You try to be as neutral as possible. You support as many different groups as you can, but you don't choose lightning rod figures to base a marketing campaign on, because you will alienate certain audiences. And different products have different SKUs depending on which side you're on in the culture war. Nike can use a Dylan Mulvaney in its advertising because, frankly, its customer base is more left-leaning and they have no issues with it. But Anheuser-Busch, you're kind of insulting your fan base when you go with somebody who's a controversial figure. It would be almost like choosing Donald Trump to represent the New York Times. It just wouldn't work, okay, for obvious reasons. And that's what this is all about. And I want to be very clear about that. So before I get into my story, I'm just going to quickly show the commercial and some of the reactions and then counter reactions. And then if you stick along long enough, I'll tell the story.
Hi. Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness, and I thought we were all just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport, but either way, it's a cause to celebrate. This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram story to see how you can enjoy March Madness with Bud Light and maybe win some money too. Love ya! Cheers! Go team! Whatever team you love, I love too. Okay. Love ya. Okay, break a leg. Woo!
That's what we call brand confusion. Let's look at a few reactions.
Grandpa's feeling a little frisky today. Let me say something to all you and be as clear and concise as possible. Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch. Have a terrific day.
Whoa. Well, I guess Kid Rock didn't like the new Bud Light ad campaign. So why the odd shift in strategy? Well, the VP of marketing of Bud Light should be able to shed some light on that.
I think number one, I'm a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. And it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time. And if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. So I had this super clear mandate. It's like we need to evolve and elevate this incredibly iconic brand. And what I brought to that was a belief in, okay, what does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and to men. And representation is at sort of the heart of evolution. You've got to see people who reflect you in the work. And we had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been kind of a brand of fratty, kind of out of touch humor. And it was really important that we had another approach.
So basically, Anheuser-Busch handed an iconic brand over to the cat lady. When you develop a marketing campaign, the first thing that you always need to be mindful of is who your core customer base is. Now, if you look at Bud Light, it's actually the leading brand in North America by sales. So in the United States alone, it's roughly 27.5% market share. It's the number one selling beer. So when you make decisions about that brand, you have to be very mindful of who your customer base is. If you look at the demographics, beer drinkers in the United States in particular tend to be on the younger side. So according to the head of marketing or VP of marketing of Bud Light, it's very fratty. Additionally, Bud Light drinkers tend to be more working class types. The other thing you need to be mindful of is that when you add or when you do a brand campaign, you need to be considerate of something called aspirational goals. When you develop a marketing campaign, you want your customers to aspire to be better than themselves, to aspire to something higher and better than themselves. If you have a brand that 60% of the customers are male, many of them are working class, many of them are in their 30s to 50s, nothing against transgender men or women, but I guarantee you the vast majority of American men, particularly conservative men, who are a large percentage of Bud Light's base, don't aspire to become women. It's just, there may be some, but they're a very tiny percentage. more importantly, it's not about the brand appealing to non-heterosexual males. They do that all the time. All brands do. That's not the issue at all. The issue is they picked a very controversial figure to lead a brand campaign. And if you're going to do that, that's fine. That's a calculated risk that companies take nowadays. I don't recommend it. I recommend that companies, to maximize their market share, stay as apolitical as possible because it's just smart business. But if you're going to choose a side, at least choose the side of where your core customer base is. Don't choose the other side because you're going to have a rout on your product. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Let me frame this in another way. Imagine if you're the New York Times. Would you run an ad campaign with Trump as the spokesperson? Ask yourself what would happen to subscriptions. Would they increase? No, of course not. There would be a rout. They would be hemorrhaging sales because the average New York Times reader tends to be a little bit left of center or far left of center. Now, there's some right of center, and they might have a chuckle. In fact, even those who are right of center might have an issue with Donald Trump being the spokesperson of the New York Times. So with that in mind, let's see what Anheuser-Busch's response was. All right, so this is Brendan Whitworth's response. A letter that was sent out, which, having worked in corporate, he probably didn't write. He just had to approve. The prior hired a communications firm like Edelman or any number of others to write this. So here's what it says. Our responsibility to America. As the CEO of a company founded in America's heartland more than 165 years ago, I am responsible for ensuring every consumer feels proud of the beer we brew. We're honored to be a part of the fabric of this country. Anheuser-Busch employs more than 18,000 people, and our independent distributors employ an additional 47,000 valued colleagues. We have thousands of partners, millions of fans, and a proud history supporting our communities, military, first responders, sports fans, and hardworking Americans everywhere. We never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. We are in the business of bringing people together over a beer. My time serving this country has taught me the importance of accountability and the values upon which America was founded: freedom, hard work, and respect for one another. As CEO of Anheuser-Busch, I am focused on building and protecting our remarkable history and heritage. I care deeply about this country, this company, our brands, and our partners. I spend much of my time traveling across America, listening to and learning from our customers, distributors, and others. Moving forward, I will continue to work tirelessly to bring great beers to consumers across our nation. Signed, the CEO of Anheuser-Busch. Okay, so this ain't going to work. It hasn't worked. It's come out for a while. The bottom line is you have to be very careful with your brand, and you have to know who your customers are. And the ad campaign that Whitworth came out with does not do that. And this has come across as a non-apology, and it's certainly not what I would have recommended. What I would recommend is first have a stock buyback campaign in handy to stabilize the stock price while you figure out what you're really going to do. And then choose a figure that you can put on a can, like a Pat Tillman, I think I've seen, who's an American hero, or have like an American hero campaign where you have prominent veterans who have fought and died for the country, and somehow put them on cans and try to be as patriotic as possible. At the same time, you need to address the elephant in the room. You need to say, look, we didn't intend to put a lightning rod figure on the campaign. We were wrong, and for that we apologize. Without an apology, the brand's in trouble. There is so much angst in the culture where we're right now, and folks on the right aren't the ones who really go out to the streets and protest and burn things down. But it is pretty easy to stop buying beer, or it is pretty easy to stop buying Anheuser-Busch products and start buying Molson Coors.
Does Molson Coors support the LGBT community? Of course. But that's not the point. The point is that ad campaign was the equivalent of rubbing the culture war into half the country's face. And when your customers are 80% on one side of the culture war and you present a lightning rod figure that represents the other side of the culture war, you're going to reap what you sow. So he has a difficult road ahead, but he can take my advice or not. So now back to the story that I promised you. It's 1991, and I am at Salesianum High School. I'm a freshman. Brendan's a freshman. And it's gym class, and we are playing softball because that's what our gym teacher had us playing. I played football. Brendan played soccer. He was taller than me. I was shorter, squat. And he is definitely more athletic. He's certainly, and he still is a great athlete. And I was good at hitting people, but I wasn't very good at handling the football, things like that. So I played things like defensive back, things like that, where aggression mattered, but you didn't really have to be, amazing at catching the ball or throwing, etc. So I get up at bat and Brendan's pitching. And as I'm sitting there, he's telling me, "You suck, you're going to strike out, you're terrible. Why don't you just go home?" And, just smack talking, but it's a little bit deeper than that. And I don't really know what drove it. But at the time, we're all immature. And again, I want to stress that it's been 30 plus years. I'm sure he's changed, but people are just figuring it out in high school. And I was just figuring out, he was just figuring out. But at the time, he was a bit of a bully. I trust that he's not anymore, but back then he was. So as he's doing this, I proceed to hit a triple, and he loses a little bit of face. So I run around to third base. I get to third base, and he runs over to faux tag me, even though I got to the base fine, but he gives me a little bit of a shove, a little bit of a push, not too overt to start a fight, but enough to just kind of send me a message. And for folks who've known me for a very long time, I could agree with you, but if you present it in an aggressive way and try to push me around, I'm just going to go against you just to spite you. Because I don't like to be pushed around. I don't like to be told what to do unless there's logic to it. And when a peer does it, I don't handle it very well. So I just kind of log it, and I sit on the base and wait. The next person at bat hits a single. So I'm running down the baseline toward home plate, and Brendan, he just can't let it go. So as the pitcher, he runs to home plate because he wants to be there to tag me out. Unfortunately for him, he was running along the baseline directly in front of me. And I went to an all-boys Catholic school. My father taught at the Catholic school. I didn't want to get thrown out of school. But he presented me with an opportunity. So as I was running, I kept running. Boom, I ran him through. Now he's very coordinated. He didn't lose his feet, but he stumbled a bit, almost fell face first into the ground. And to be completely fair, I did hit him from behind. However, I did it in a way that provided some plausible deniability, because he got up in my face immediately and peacocked. And look, he was taller than me, but I could have done some damage. He probably would have won. But at that point, I didn't care. I was ready, but I had to do it in such a way that I didn't start the fight. He was just in my way. You were in my way. If you want to fight, I'm right here. You take the first swing. It is a lesson that I provided to him that I hope he took for the rest of his life. And that is, when you bully somebody, sometimes they might not be as big as you, but sometimes they're cleverer than you. And what I did is I put him in a situation where he could either take the loss and look like a buffoon, or he could start a fight. And if you wrestle with the pig, you might get dirty, but the pig likes it. Well, I was the pig in this situation. I was ready. I was just waiting. But if he took that swing, he would be the one who would get thrown out. So I just sat there, waited. Gym teacher eventually separated us. And after that event, one of my classmates came up to me and thanked me, because I just learned this year, after learning that Whitworth had become CEO, that this one particular kid had been bullied by Whitworth all through grade school. But he thanked me. Later on, I had other friends who had attended grade school with me at a different grade school. One of them came up to tell me that, man, he's pissed. He's really pissed. And I knew that. And there may have been another side of the story that I didn't hear. Now, look, I fully own up to, he was in my way. We were both running in the same direction, and I ran him through. That's kind of a cheap shot. But it was a strategic cheap shot that I think, again, taught him a lesson. Later that day when I got home, my father, as I mentioned earlier, who was a teacher at the high school, asked me, did something happen in gym class today? And I said, yeah. And he's just like, yeah, well, let me tell you what happened in the faculty lounge. So apparently the gym teacher had, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to put any of this stuff out in the world, came up to him and said, Ted, who's my father's name, I'm so proud of your son. That kid was just like bullying people, arrogant, and I was just sick of it. And your son taught him a lesson today. So anyway, that's my story. That's how I got into a physical altercation with the current CEO of Anheuser-Busch. Brendan, if you're watching, no hard feelings. I just had to tell this story because we live in a bizarro world. I honestly hope you're able to turn it around. Like I said, do a stock buyback and kind of put out these patriotic cans and apologize. Now, you got to be careful because the left will probably try to burn down one of your breweries because that's what they do. But what that ad campaign did was just off brand. I know you're a patriot. I know you're an American who served with honor in the Middle East. So just do the right thing, and good luck to you, and I hope you do well. Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. An odd aside, if you look at the website of Anheuser-Busch, there is someone who runs their logistics whose last name is Hazlett. Again, this is all part of the matrix. That poor man, he probably wonders why his CEO is so mean to him. No relation, but only in this reality would somebody on the management team have the same last name as me. So anyway, thank you for suffering through that, and I look forward to continuing the live stream on other topics.
All right. I hope you all can hear me still. What am I doing? Now I'm all discombobulated because I have to figure out. There we go. Got to do everything just right. All right. So how we doing? Hey, I love you, Frank. I love you, Frank. Yeah, I tried to keep out my bias, and that's the one slip. Like it just, and it is what it is, right? You guys have the 2020 riots, and the right has the January 6th. Left calls it an insurrection, the right calls it a riot. So it is what it is. But yeah, I couldn't resist. And thank you. Yeah, I'm just trying to. But anyway, I'm trying to avoid. I'm just like literally trying to avoid all this stuff. But this particular issue was just. I have a friend who also went to high school with me, and he's an army he's an army colonel, and the day that this thing came out, I got like a text from him. It just said check your email. That's all it said. And in my email was like this article all about Whitworth, and I had no idea he was the CEO of Anheuser-Busch. So anyway, it's just yeah, it's just the whole thing's ridiculous. It's just it's only in the Matrix, right? Um, all right, let me try to get back on track. All right, I'm gonna be fast about this, so because I don't want to lose people. Okay, so um, let's see. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm just gonna change this up. I'm just trying to find if there's like a quicker way to. Um, Here we go. Hmm. There we go. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to do this really quickly. Um, Unfortunately, I'm not going as fast as I'd like. Okay, so I added a few things. So again, I'll be really quick. For the $5 Patreon, will be things I added are a shout out. So once I reach critical mass, I'll have something at the very end of my streams with by name. You'll get a welcome video, and it's not like it will be for you specifically. Same thing for the $10 per month membership. I have live Q&As that I have on Saturdays, I think once a month, that you'll get access to. Again, the shout out, exclusive by name welcome. And then for the lieutenant membership, there's the video, there's the shout out, you get early access to content. So uh one of our members is here on the stream, so he always gets to see one video about a week early every month. And then again, you get the video, but he also gets fan requests. So there's a few guests that I hadn't even thought about that he recommended. So the reason I had Ryan Macbeth on, that was and again, it was Brian. I'm not going to say his last name because I don't want to volunteer too much, but that was all Brian. He recommended it, and then I just made it happen. And he's also recommended a number of other folks, but that's the one that sticks out the most. The other thing, I guess, I wonder why it's not here. There's supposed to be something else too that I'm going to do Tuckerizations. So at the $20 level, if you join for a certain period of time, I will write you in as a character into the book that I'm currently writing. So, or whatever short story book, whatever that I'm currently writing, I'll write you in. Okay, so let's end this because I promised you I wouldn't spend too long on it. So that is that. And let me check the comments. Yeah, Yes, so it is. That's the Patreon membership. Yeah, that was Brian. That wasn't me. I made it happen, but that was his recommendation, and I agreed. I was like a perfect, and I could probably get him back, but I don't. I feel like I'm almost cheating when I do it, because what happens is I get the same um, hit rate on episodes at 1,000 impressions that I do on 100,000 impressions. So what happens is he posted it. I posted it, and it got some, you know, kind of did normally how a channel my size does. Then he put it on his community tab, and instead of like the 1,000 to 5,000 impressions that I normally get, I got like 100,000 impressions. So those are my two best videos ever, but it has nothing to do with the quality of the video. It's just the fact that the YouTube algorithm gave me 100x the impressions at the same conversion rate. The same, so just trying to get this back on track. So anyway, yeah, I know. I feel really bad about it, and I'm worried that people do jump. So again, it is what it is. So all right, let's go to the next piece. Okay. Oh, I mean, what a disappointment. I mean, it's not really like I expected it to be bad, but I mean, this was like next level. It was just like Sean Kirkpatrick, just like, here's the most scientific, technical thing, and let's just focus on this, and let's ignore all the other stuff. And it's just like, it was clearly choreographed between him and the senators. I mean, we're not gonna get any disclosure from these folks. It's just not. It's not gonna happen. I'm convinced. People have to do it on their own, because we're just not gonna. Again, it was very obviously choreographed. They were just walking slowly through all the technical definitions and language, and at that rate, I don't think he I mean, obviously, I don't think he likes me. I mean, it was freshman year, and like, I don't recall having any other issues. But we weren't buddies. The last time I heard anything about him before this was, um, it was at my 5-year high school reunion, and his cover story, I'm guessing, was apparently that he was uh, like a JAG officer in the Marine Corps. But at the 5-year mark, he had spent 3 years in the Marine Corps, and at that point, he was in the clandestine service. So he wasn't even at the reunion. I just heard from people who kept in touch with him. So I don't know. And then he since went to Harvard Business School. Well, I just got a new Patreon subscriber, so I guess that was worth it. I'm not sure if I should say the name, but anyway, yeah. After what I put out, as long as I also kind of hid this thing in a live stream, because I did not want it to go viral. I don't want to be the guy remembered for this. Like, it's just I don't want this channel to be about the culture war. I mean, you all know where I stand, but there's no reason to. I just want to focus on things that we can all agree on, which is like, there's some crazy stuff out there. We don't quite know what it is. Government has some idea. They might know a lot. They might know very little. But there's a lot of stuff out there that we can't explain, and I like interviewing people like that, and I like to try to remain. I mean, you all saw the Stefan Schwartz interview. I try to be the ultimate professional, and he was a guest, and I think he was, he talked about the what, his whys were a little bit biased in my opinion, but he could be right too. I mean, there's some truth behind some of what he said. So anyway, let's see. I know, but I'm just trying to do the right thing. But here's the thing: I have to listen to Brian because he's the Patreon subscriber that I was talking about. So, that this one might be like a David Paulides sort of like, or maybe not quite Eric Snowden because I don't know Eric Snowden, but like I don't know David Paulides either, but they both blocked me. But this is a little, and right now, to be honest, like Brendan has bigger problems to deal with, like big problems, like whether or not his company is hemorrhaging sales. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. I just on this particular issue, I just couldn't like. It was just so connected to the Matrix that I couldn't resist. Are there any other options? Because I don't even know what I would talk to him. I can't talk to him about paranormal stuff, right? And I probably can't even talk to him about CIA stuff because all that stuff is very likely classified. In fact, I'm surprised that he listed clandestine officer on his LinkedIn because if he converted any spies or anything like that, that puts them all in danger. So maybe he didn't recruit spies, or I don't know, but I know a lot of people who I suspect might have to do with that community, and they don't even have LinkedIn profiles. Like it's so. Anyway, yeah. Well, let me keep this up. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, he's a good-looking, athletic guy. I think like he went to Bucknell, I think, because I looked him up, and he was like Phi Beta Kappa. He majored in economics and classics. So, and he's kind of like this all-American athlete type, and you see that with CEOs and management teams. Usually, it's the CFO, like guys like me who are the conscientious types, and make sure that the train gets where they are off time, and they're pulling their hair out. And then it's the marketing people that get you into trouble, which is basically exactly what's happening to him. But yeah, I mean, part of it is also like a class thing, honestly. So I probably grew up in kind of a lower middle class background, and I do things that are some like kind of counterproductive. Like I can't fake it with people. I just can't. And people who come from kind of an upper middle class to upper class background, I think his father was like a plastic surgeon or something like that. And his older sister went to Harvard, and so they had money. I just don't know how much money, but I think there's sort of this you grow up in a way that facilitates your ability to glad hand, and I'm not a glad hander. I'm like I mean, they put me on a tank for a reason. Like I'm like a human tank. So I just tell people what I think, and I don't really pull punches. I've gotten better with it over time, but uh yeah, so again, and look, I know how smart he was. Like he was brighter than average, but he wasn't the valedictorian of at my high school. You know, I was certainly ranked higher. I went to a better school, all that stuff, but he was a better athlete. So part of it is do you fit the part? And he looks like he's from Central Casting too. So, it is what it is. The geometry of baseball. I wouldn't even know where to begin. Thank you, Brian. By the way, Brian has been supporting me for like 7 months. So he is the man. He is absolutely the man. And his recommendations are basically the two most watched episodes that I currently have. So thank you, brother. Yeah, and that's part of how I get guests. Like I learn about these guests because the way that it kind of works is that Terry Lovelace recommended both Debbie Jordan Caldwell and Yvonne Smith. So I reached out to both and scheduled interviews with them. And I just said that Terry Lovelace recommended them. So that, I mean, that makes it easier so that people are not just looking at my channel and being like, oh, he's only got 1,500 subscribers. Like, I don't know. So anyway, as long as I don't go viral with this, which I won't, because there's only 3 people have like watched it. So again, that's why I've embedded it in a live stream so that nobody will discover it. Yeah. Well, actually, you raise a point because um, he was again way back when, so I'm sure he's changed a lot. But uh, he was a bit of a kiss up back in the day. But that's actually a skill that is critical. The positive networking that impresses bosses and things like that. And he is like, if you look at the current situation, like he hasn't come out at all, hasn't made a public statement like in front of a camera or anything at all. He's been content to throw this VP of marketing. I shouldn't say throw under the bus, but she's been absorbing all the heat as she should. But I'm still a little. I'm watching with interest to see how he handles it. But he hasn't come out and stepped out. He just kind of put out a letter. And there's also a dynamic here that we're not seeing because InBev, I think, owns the company, so they have a big stake or something. I forget how it works, but I don't think he has as much control as a typical CEO does. Yeah, I don't even know how to get in contact with Elizondo. I don't even know if he would appear on the show, but I'll use the kind of the networking to try to get at him. Oh my God, I have a story. Oh, I forgot about this. I don't know if I can tell it though. I'll tell it without mentioning who the guest was. So, as you all know, David Morehouse is working on that History Channel show. One of the guests that he's working with, you will all know, but I'm not going to say. And I've been sending emails to this guy forever, and I know I'm like one degree of freedom away from him in like 7 different directions, like the Kevin Bacon, like degrees of freedom away, degrees from Kevin Bacon or whatever it's called. And I have his email. I've emailed him. I've tried to reach out. I've interviewed people who have collaborated with him, all that sort of stuff. He never answers. So, all right, I'm going to curse, but I think one curse is okay. That's not going to destroy the algorithm, especially since we're like an hour into this thing. So he's on a meeting in this production with Dr. Morehouse. And as soon as the meeting starts, Dr. Morehouse, who I just I love the guy like a brother. I mean, he's awesome, but I don't think this person will ever appear on the show because he basically said he started the meeting. He told me about this last week. I'm like, ooh, I don't. So he starts the meeting, and like right before, like right as the meeting's about to start, he says he addresses the person so and so by name. Why the fuck haven't you responded to Sean Hazlett's emails? He's been trying to get you on the show. So, and this person was kind of like shocked, like didn't know how to handle it. So anyway, there will be an event where I see him in person, but we'll see. Let's see. No, I think it's in everybody's purview. I you just have to keep experimenting. Um, have positive thoughts, but also put those thoughts into action and then just see how it goes. Like this channel, literally, this channel is a manifestation of that, right? Like I started it from nothing on January 22nd, 2022. And I built like a very detailed financial model. And like I'd have to check like at some future episode I can do a deep dive where I can look at where I predicted it would be a year ago. Wow, this thing keeps doing some weird stuff. Okay. And I think it's actually pretty close. Uh, anyway, we'll we'll have to we'll have to see. Oh yeah, speaking of, so another really weird story. Again, like everything that happens to me, it could just be pure coincidence. But my family kind of went back to the East Coast because they're looking at schools for my son for college stuff like that. So I was here alone, and one morning it was maybe 3:40, something like that. I just kind of woke up just out of nowhere, and I felt like a presence, like on my right side, but just like a feeling. It wasn't. I didn't see anything, and like within half a second, there was a pack of coyotes within 100 meters of my location. Just immediately like went into like howling all at once, all of a sudden out of nowhere. And it could just be some vestigial sense, sixth sense that we all have, that there's a pack of coyotes nearby or something like that. But it was just weird. Again, could be perfectly natural explanations. You know, anyway, just weird stuff. Let's see. Oh yeah, they're definitely trying to score. But my sense of what happened with Bud Light is that some like junior level staffer just like they have like a slush fund where they can pay out influencers, and they just kind of picked one of the things on the list they're looking for that have the directive and top down. And I'm sure, I mean, my guess is that Brendan was completely blindsided. Again, I don't know, but that's just my sense. Oh yeah, it was windy. It was at least um if you watch that episode, I actually talk about what wind gusts were that night. I think they were up to like 36 miles per hour, like something nuts. So, um, but interesting. The interesting thing is they always. I think Colm Kelleher was talking about these entities like are on this like migratory path from like the southeast to the northwest, and the direction of the wind that blew that chair over was like a southwest to northwest wind. So again, it's all like you just read into this. You could easily read into this stuff. It could just be perfectly natural. That's the most frustrating thing for me. Like all sorts of weird stuff happens, but I can easily come up with a pedestrian explanation. It just happens over and over again. Like I'll give you an example. I was out back in my house, uh, not today, but the 4 days prior to that. And every single day, a hummingbird would come out, uh, fly up in front of me, hover around, and then fly back to its tree. 4 days in a row. Same hummingbird, same thing. Um, just there's a hummingbird in my yard, right? So that's probably normal, right? But they tell you hummingbirds have some sort of significance. Trying to think if there's any other random, but like random stuff like that happens all the time to me. Let's see. I don't. It's hard to tell, but his background is counterintelligence, right? So on the one hand, his job is to catch people divulging secrets, or at least it was. Um, so like how he became focused on UAPs and things like that. It's not clear how that happened, but I could totally see this just being a front operation where they uh, are using like a honeypot strategy to get people to disclose classified secrets that they shouldn't. But it doesn't mean he is. I just, you know, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what the legend was, but I'm sure it's somewhere in context. Yeah, but Dr. Morehouse used the F bomb. I was just, you know, but that's the only one we're going to get today. Yeah, look, he's a great guy to have into your corner. Um, he's awesome. Yeah, I'm beginning to, especially when you're going in the right direction. So like I left a corporate job a while back, and I've been able to, again, I'm definitely burning cash, but I'm not burning it as fast because there are certain opportunities that just come out of nowhere. So I build like in my to make money, I do some teaching work, and then I build financial models for startups. And one of them just kind of came out of nowhere. And then there's two more potential. So anyway, it's just I'm like steadily finding a ways to make money without having to go back to the corporate politics and things like that. I might still have to, but I still have time, and it's almost like a race for this channel to sustain itself versus like when I run out of cash. But I saved a lot. I paid off my house a long time ago. So, but I have a kid who's going to be going to college. So, anyway, we'll just see if the burn rate meets the income. Last year it was scary, but this year it's getting a little bit more manageable. So we'll see. But I saved. I've been I've been ruthless about saving money. Yeah. Well, and you do will things into existence, but you have to or you have to have the intent, and then you have to do the work. You can't just will it to happen. But there are times when you take a leap of faith, and then like the universe will kind of give you. Again, I sound like a new age kind of guru, like I'm insane or something. But my experience is that like the universe will give you encouragement if you're on the right track. But it's so woo woo. I need more evidence. And I and I just see like a correlation, but I don't see nothing that I say is like this definitely happened, right? Yeah, I'm assuming this was just like, yeah, this is an example of manifesting, right? Like this channel. Like I created it from nothing and then I'm building it, and I think at this, if you talk to people who have had near death experience, they talk about like this reality earth is denser. So it takes longer for things to manifest. Whereas at a higher vibratory reality, you can just think it and it happens. So um, anyway, that's we can all think of this as that experiment. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you all watched the Whitley Strieber episode, right, with the white moth? Like that really happened to me. Like, but again, a moth is sometimes just a moth, right? Well, I don't write that many books. Like the two books that I actually published were I was an editor, so I just read other people's stories. I only have to come up with the idea. Ideas are easy. Execution is what's hard. Um, but yeah, there's no money in editing and being an anthologist. I'll tell you that right now. And my first one did really well because I basically predicted World War III 2 years before World War III. I mean, we're basically fighting like a limited war against the Russians right now. I mean, it's obvious, but um, in fact, there was in the leak that just happened. There were, I think we had a little bit fewer than 100 special operators in Russia. What's freaky is if you go to Vice Media, they have a science fiction service called Motherboard, and if you just look up a story called Swarm that I wrote it, and it was published in 2017. But it's about special operators in eastern Ukraine fighting in a proxy war against the Russians. So there's like some really freaky precognitive stuff that, again, it could just be a random coincidence. I just looked at what was going on in 2014 and extrapolated. So, um, anyway, let's see. Oh yeah, so watch my interview with Tim Powers. There's one that is all it actually has Philip K. Dick's picture on that. Tim Powers, if you've seen Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, it's that Tim Powers. And Tim Powers was friends with Philip K. Dick. And we talk about all that, like the I Ching. Philip K. Dick wrote many of his books, like The Man in the High Castle. He would make characters' decisions based on the I Ching. He would also use the I Ching to make decisions in his own life about like his love life and things like that. And his relationship with the I Ching was so strong that sometimes he would make it sleep outside because it would give him an answer that he didn't like, but he knew to be true. So yeah. So yeah, please check it out. It's Tim Powers, and just there's actually a whole playlist of Tim Powers on my playlists. Just look that up, and it's like it's either the first or second interview. It might be the first interview I did with them. It's the one that doesn't say like the lizard people of Los Angeles or whatever that thing is. But yeah, he's an intriguing guy. Talk about like recognizing that he's living in the Matrix. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Biden and like, look, our government was obviously involved. Like Russians and the, we're doing this stuff back and forth all the time. I'm not neither good nor bad, but huh. 85 days in Salviansk. I'll definitely have to check that out. I have so many books right now that there's a whole pile over there that I have. What do I have? Them, which is the new Whitley Strieber book. I'm about halfway through that. I read like 10 books at once and I just read parts of it. I mean, I finish them, but I just have so many that are unread because I can't read that fast. I have the Chris Bledsoe book, UFO of God, that I just got. I want to start. But yeah, there's a ton of them. I finished one called, what's it called? It's written by, no, it's not Nick Pope. It's about the theory that UFOs are actually demonic. I mean, it's a creepy book. But anyway, it's definitely worth reading. I wish I could remember what it was. It's about the Collins Elite. It's not called that, but it's about this group called the Collins Elite. And I doubt UFOs, I would say, are only demonic insofar as our ancient ancestors considered them demonic because they didn't understand them. But there was a faction in the government, according to it starts with like Parsons, who was at Caltech and was doing all sorts of ritual magic. He was tied in with Aleister Crowley, and apparently it opened a portal. I mean, look, I don't endorse this stuff, but it is fascinating. I was like, Anyway, I definitely recommend it, but just look up the Collins Elite and you'll find the book. Oh, so the I Ching it's like an ancient Chinese book, and there's like different characters. There's like 64 different. I think they're called like hexagrams or something like that, and they each correspond to something, and you can ask it questions, and then you kind of throw these. I don't know if you throw these sticks or not sticks, but you do something with it, and it gives you answers, and it's not quite like a Ouija board because it doesn't have that like scary piece, but it's something that's just ancient and apparently worked for Philip K. Dick. But look it up. You can read about it. I'm not an expert on it. Hey, good to see you, man. Yeah, you missed. Oh man. I just give you the bottom line up front. 32 years ago, I got into a fight with the current CEO of Anheuser-Busch. So you can watch it later. I go through like all the controversy and stuff like that. I try to stay out of politics, but this one I couldn't because it was so bizarre. But welcome back. It's always good to see you. Yeah, it's just like a divination thing that apparently is it's like remote viewing in a sense, and that it's often accurate. Yeah, I think it's episode 125. That's the one where he goes into the whole Philip K. Dick. Because again, he knew the man personally, right? They were friends, and Philip K. Dick was also kind of a little bit crazy. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, I'm also chasing content and trying to. The hardest part is getting enough people to interview, um, and like just scheduling it and things like that. But then I edit the audio so that I remove like as much of the uhs and ums because I have software that kind of helps me do that. But that takes like 5 or 6 hours because you're reading through the transcript and like messing with the waveforms, and so it's it can be a lot of work, and I could probably get away with kind of just letting things go. That's the other thing with Patreon. I thought about potentially just publishing the raw interviews so you can kind of see what a mess they are sometimes. And then, I mean, but you can also see things like Lynn Buchanan when I get dropped from a call. He, he's a funny guy. Where he's just like, "Oh, they got you." Anyway, let's see. Yeah, I mean he wrote The Man in the High Castle using the I Ching. Um, to like resolve character what character various characters would do and things like that. Yeah. I'm also reading I think it's called Super Space Natural. It's by Jeffrey Kripal and Whitley Strieber. Like I think I'm reading like I was rereading Communion, but as soon as I had the interview I stopped because I already read it a long time ago. But there's a lot of stuff that I went through and to prepare for that interview because I wanted to. And there's also something called like the visitors or something like that that I watched on Amazon. It's a very short documentary that talks about his experiences. That's where I found out about the white moth. Yes. So this is the UFOs are demonic thing. Final events and the secret government group on demonic UFOs in the afterlife. I find it hard to believe that that's the case, but it is super, super interesting because at least it goes through like Parsons and like how he's involved in the rocketry program, and also how he's linked in with Aleister Crowley and whatever the Golden Dawn. And I mean, it is some solid stuff. Talks a little bit about the Men in Black and things like that. And I think the same author, his name's Nick something. I don't know. I actually Redfern, Nick Redfern. I actually reached out to him, no response. But apparently he has some 2 or 3 books on the Men in Black that he claims that people who read them subsequently had some like weird experiences with like, the black-eyed children or Men in Black, things like that. So, I might try to read some of that stuff at some point, but obviously I haven't gotten into it yet. Um, I think that story might be in there. So, when it comes to what are they called? Uh, like the night terrors, like shadow people and things like that, where the Hat Man is. That's definitely the case. Where if you call out to Christ or Jesus, they'll. Again, I don't know if this is the case. I'm just like, this is what people who've had those experiences report. Okay, I don't know what. Again, I haven't had those experiences. I've had sleep paralysis sometimes, but I never recall having any seeing anything, because usually when it happens to me, it's usually when I'm waking up and I get pissed off, like I get enraged, and I will myself out of it. So, um, so I don't know if it means anything, or because again, this like it's also a natural, like when you go to sleep, you naturally have this sleep paralysis thing. You just don't remember it. It's like very rare that it happens. Let's see. Yeah, like look, the more I get into all this stuff, like the more ignorant I realize I am. And you also have to be careful too, because there's a lot of misinformation out there too, and there's a lot of people who are just quacks making stuff up. So it's hard to figure out what's real and what's not. Yeah, I mean, there's one scene, I think I've recounted it before, where there's like these UFOs flying around, and there's like these like zombie people, and like the UFOs are like zipping around and like sucking up souls, and like it just there's one scene in there that's really creepy. That I don't know. Hey Billy, good to see you. Sorry I didn't get you until like that was like 8:16. All right, looks like I'm about 8 minutes behind, so that's fine. Um, Interesting. Yeah, there's all sorts of different things like the four turnings and things like that. Like apparently we're in the fourth turning right now, which is kind of a destructive cycle, and the renewal is like the first turning. So interesting. Do you know what well, yeah, do you know what that software was? I'll come back to you. Oh, Time Wave Zero. Yeah, I've heard about that. I'd have to uh, look at that again, because I think there was a Jeffrey Mishlove episode about that where he's interviewing Terrence McKenna like way back when. Yeah, yeah, because I don't really cut out um, like the good stuff. I might cut out like somebody might be having like a personal problem at home where they like say something sarcastic about what's going on, and I will cut that stuff out just to protect them. But you know, it doesn't happen very often. But when it does, I try to make the guests look as good as they can. Oh, then I'm gonna like Tom Campbell a lot, because Lynn's got a sense of humor. Like he really does. Um, but he's kind of comes off with this like sage, like this old sage, but he's got like a mischievous sense of humor. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that 2012 was like the whole. I think it's called like the Baktuns or whatever, which is the Mayan calendar of like there's like 26,000 year cycles, or something like that. So, um, yeah. Speaking of cycles, there's also like a zoological calendar. Um, whereas like the age of Pisces passes into the age of Aquarius, and anyway, um, okay, let's see. Yes, I by Cormac McCarthy. I love that book. Yeah, yeah, the judge. That's Satan. Yeah. Well, I mean, or a Satan-like character, and he's just like this genius, like just uh, deceiver, and just brutal. That is a great book. I'm trying to remember. I think what is it like Billy or something like that is the kid, or no, he's just called the kid, who's one of the protagonists. And it just has a very biblical style. It's not very kind on the Comanche either, with like the baby trees, and like there's some brutal stuff in there, man. There's some brutal stuff. The only annoying thing about it is Cormac McCarthy doesn't believe in grammar, so it can be a challenge to read sometimes. Uh oh. Yeah, I'll have to reach out to him. The last time I kind of just reached out to him, he was just like super cool about it. He's just like, let's go. Let's do this. Um yeah. Do you know what they're called, Frank? That Nick Redfern is definitely the author, but for folks who are trying to um, look at those, I feel like I could be getting everybody into trouble, but who knows? Huh? Interesting. I'll have to read Psalm 23 to figure out what that. Yeah, or maybe that actual being shows up. Yeah, I hope we're not. But I mean, if everything that uh, Stefan Schwartz and Lynn Buchanan has said, you're probably right. Because you have like this Deagle report um, that shows this massive decline in population around the same period, and then you have abductees and contactees all talking about having some purpose, um, where they're going to, you know, helping to evacuate people, things like that in the future. Um, with some great apocalyptic event. So, but I mean, who knows? Uh, Yeah, that's if you survive, right? Because maybe not everybody gets to maybe not everybody gets to go. Yep. Oh, it's called the Black Diary. Yeah, I mean, everybody afterward can just go to um, what you call it, Amazon, and find it. Yeah, yeah. By the way, if you do buy those books, just click on any random link on my description, and and if it takes you to Amazon, and then I get like a percentage commission. Again, shameless plug that you can support me without having to actually do anything other than if you're buying something, literally anything you buy from that, if you start from that link, there will be a commission. Anyway, sorry for the shameless plug. Yep. Yeah, people could just kind of feel drained and they don't remember what happens. And yeah, the black-eyed children thing. It's creepy. Yep. All right. I don't even remember where I was. Where was I? Yeah, we talked about the hearings and then we started answering questions. All right. So I'm going to, again, my sincerest apologies. I'm going to do a quick plug again. This time, as promised, I'm going to be very, 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 very fast. Okay. So if you all know Edward Palmer from last week, he helped me do like a merch overhaul. So I'm just going to quickly go through a few things and then we'll get back to what we were talking about. So um I was just joking about like I hate putting my face on products and he's just like, who cares? Just do it. Just see if people buy it. So so I did. Again, this will be on the merch site. You can get to it from YouTube, but I'll show you the site in a second. So there's that. There's what I'm wearing right now, right? I have a shirt on underneath. There are stickers. Okay. What else we got? Got like this flex hat, right? Good stuff. And I think that's all I have in that portion. And then I will. I'm going to quickly go to the merch shop. Just give me a. Hold on. Just give me a second. Okay. It just went away. It's annoying. All right. So this is the with Edward's help. I kind of changed it up a little bit, made it a little bit cleaner, and added models to it because apparently I didn't have models, and you do better if you have models. It's actually much easier to do, but you can find it here through dash a dash glass dash darkly dash merch dash myspreadshop.com. Okay. And then you can go into, look at different mugs and drinkware, all that, good stuff. This good stuff, t-shirts, all sorts of crazy stuff. All right. That's it. That's all I need to say and do because I don't want to waste your time and I just want to make sure you're all aware. So, okay. All right. Now we are properly in the question zone. Good Lord. It's like an hour and 37 minutes. It's all right. I enjoy doing this. It's hard when there's like not a lot of people at first, but when everybody jumps on, you guys make it easy for me. So I totally appreciate it. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it could be multiple groups. It could be ETs. It could be dimensionals. It could be some manifestation, like a humanoid manifestation of some intelligence that we just can't fundamentally understand. It could be a hyperdimensional intelligence that we can only see portions of. Um, this stuff is insanity. Yeah, yeah. I had one guest say something to me that I'm not going to repeat because it'll make me sound crazy. Um, and I heard it a second time from somebody who just sent me a random note. But if I hear it a third time, I'll say it. But and it wasn't about what was going to happen. It was about well, there's something about 2023 and key players and things like that. But until I hear it a third time, I'm not gonna because it's ridiculous. I mean, in my view, it's ridiculous. Let's see. I was just reading in them that there were grays that were scraping some girls beneath some girls' feet in like 1953, and she asked them like what they were doing, and they were saying, "Oh, we're just taking a part of you so we can build a new you or create a new you," uh, which and that's it. No other questions answered. Just very creepy. Yeah, it could be. Who knows? Thank you, Bruno, and thank you for coming back. I missed you. I missed you the other time. I haven't seen Kev though. I don't know where Kev is. Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, you mean one of these? I mean, there's others one that just said through a glass darkly. Like you don't have to get my stupid face, right? But um yeah, I think there's multiple things at play. Yeah, yeah, I am as ignorant as they come on this stuff. And the more that I learn about it, the less I know. Uh yeah. Yeah, I mean, Taiwan kind of got dicey. There was actually a senator that sold put options on Taiwan Semiconductor or bought put options on Taiwan Semiconductor in like on March 15th. And then he disclosed it. He had to, I guess, disclose it in April. So, you know, the only positive way of looking at that, uh, or the least bad interpretation of that is he was just buying puts in anticipation of the Chinese exercises that happened between those two dates. The bad interpretation is that they have knowledge that the Chinese are going to either blow up Taiwan Semiconductor or commence a invasion. So um, I don't know. I don't think they're that dumb. I think they're just going to try to allow it to happen slowly, but you never know. Yeah, I mean, look, you guys are like you are all the like OG, like the OGs of this thing. So, because I'm just this guy in my house just trying to build something from nothing, and the fact that you guys keep coming back keeps me going. So I really appreciate it. And I'm starting to remember all your names and things like that. So I mean, I'm not starting, but I start to notice the same people. So I appreciate when you come back. Um, because it gets easier to do. Yeah, she did. Well, I mean that's Congress people shouldn't be allowed to trade on on material public information. Because for the rest of it, it's completely illegal. So, I mean, you could literally, I think there are hedge funds that literally trade based on congressional transactions. Like they'll monitor as soon as a congressperson will disclose something, they'll make the same trades because they know that these people have insider information, or they try to figure out what trades they're already making by talking to their financial professionals. It's just not great. Um, let's see. Uh, no, I think I think we're getting closer to some sort of. I don't know if it's a like an apocalyptic event, but some sort of like consciousness shift. Either disclosure of some sort, not by the government, but by whatever these entities are. But um, it just was like there were going to be certain key players in 2023 for something that someone was going to meet. So every person that they met in 2023 was going to be a key player in something. What that something is, I don't know, but it's related to non-human intelligences, etc. That's it. That's all that was said. So just weird stuff. Oh God. Well, yeah, that's the other thing too, because that's like they take eggs, they take, or at least the accounts are that they take eggs, they take sperm, things like that. I mean, Whitley Strieber will tell you that. So I don't. Again, I have no way of independently verifying it. I'm just relating with these what's in the literature. Yeah, I don't think it's an invasion thing. I think it's more of a positive thing. Although, it could also be a shakeup. Like people might not be happy to learn that traditional religions, there might be aspects of it that. I mean, let me give you an example. Let's say, and I'm just making this up, but let's say humans start to learn that some of us are precognitive, some of us are telepathic, things like that. But imagine what it would do to the current way things are run, right? So if somebody is telepathic and they're unscrupulous, they might steal your money by getting into your bank account. Oops. All right, can you hear me? Can you all still hear me? Okay, here's the deal. Here's what happened. I have a camera that's supposed to be charging using the computer, but what ends up happening is it just drains its batteries. And for some reason, oh, here we go. There we go. Now I just have to fix one more thing. This is really annoying. Okay, good. Unreal. Okay, so you can hopefully see me now. Okay. And it looks like I only lost one person, so I think we are good. It's just like when I was trying to fix this thing, like it just wasn't. But what happens is I have a camera up here that it's supposed to be charging because it's plugged in to the computer, but it just runs off its battery. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm just gonna put it off to the side and let it charge. What was that? Oh, okay. Anyway, all right. What else we got? I'm getting better at the recovery, but that still was not a great recovery. It took me a while to figure it out. No, I have a daughter who has she was like the 17th in the country to be diagnosed with this genetic disorder called Bainbridge-Roper. And it has like symptoms, like that's her stimming is basically what it is. So it is, my wife's supposed to be keeping her at bay, but my wife never does that. So she just kind of, I have no idea what you're talking about, Frank, but that's okay. I love you anyway. Oh, no worries at all. No worries at all. You can hear her clapping too. It's just it is what it is, man. Seriously, there's no ill will at all, because like frankly she's trilling like an alien. That's an accurate statement. The analogy. Oh yeah. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Yeah. But we're not going to get it from it's not going to come from the government. Like if you watch the UAP hearing, it was a joke. And it was a choreographed joke too. It was clear that the senators and had kind of like sat down with Sean Kirkpatrick and said, okay, we're going to ask about this. You're going to show like a bunch of cases where you debunk them. And then, just to let the people know that we're working on something. But I don't think it's going to get anywhere. Oh, well, no, I'm not saying that they do have it or not. I think just more people wake up to it, right? And they realize it's just because they thought it was analysis, their superior analysis or something like that. It could just be that they have intuition that allows them to be better at certain things than others. But if it were like clear sort of telepathy, people who were, for lack of a better word, bad people, they don't want people reading their minds, right? It would just unmask a lot of the dirty stuff that people do. Like I would get in trouble for it all the time because I would, I could see people doing it just by looking at data, and I would call people out and I would get in trouble for, exposing them. Like people don't like that, but I'm usually pretty straight shooter. And anyway, hello, David. It's nice to see you as well, my friend. Yeah, I think they already have links to the intelligence community. I think the intelligence community doesn't necessarily train remote viewers. Well, they might, but I think they outsource a lot of the stuff to people who have top secret security clearances, like former remote viewers. And Edward Reardon might be one of those types. Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. And there was like a certain word that he was talking about. There was also a word, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like disturbingly accurate. Like it's like a word that people were only using post COVID. Yeah, I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting. I need to check that. And I need to reach out to Daz Smith too, because I haven't done anything with him in a while. I appreciate it, but like I said, I only have one. I only have one in the chamber right now, and then I'm supposed to record another one on Sunday. But I'm getting a little nervous because I like to have like ideally I like to have a month ahead, but now I have like um I'm like half a week ahead right now. So and I'll be a week ahead. Well, I mean Sunday I'll have I'll have to scramble to get that thing done by Wednesday and post it because the other thing too is like YouTube might demonetize something. So I like to get these things uploaded quickly so I can react and pull them and change them so that they're not demonetized. And like they'll demonetize really weird stuff like Stefan Schwartz, they demonetized one of his videos and it was just like it didn't make any sense. So I asked for a human to review it and they rolled in my favor, but it was just like it's just bizarre sometimes with the algorithm when you publish. Um, hold on for a second. Sorry about that. I just the trilling was getting a little bit too much. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Yeah, but I think that another reason they're not transparent is because they're they're putting money in their own pockets, right? I just again, I'm not a fan of Democrats or Republicans. I just see them as two wings on the same bird. I don't think I think politicians are kind of the problem. Yeah, she was awesome. Yes, yes, yeah. I think it was gain of function. It's just like, where did that come from? Like, it's a very like specific terminology, and he was right. I'm going to take a quick drink. Yeah, it was very, very oddly accurate. And that's the same thing because Lynn Buchanan in that 1998 remote viewing that he did, they were talking about man-made natural disasters. So I'm not going to go into the whole Wuhan origin theory, but I mean, you all know. I'm not gonna rehash that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't actually know. I know nothing about QAnon. I just stay away from it because it just it's a rabbit hole I don't want to go. It's like flat earthers. It's a rabbit hole I do not want to go down. Interesting. Yeah, it is. Like that's why I try to be careful. Hey, I appreciate that, David. If you could like let people know and send it around because the first time I got a big boost on YouTube was when I posted something on Reddit. Otherwise, people weren't discovering my channel on YouTube. And I'm not saying it was, I'm not saying YouTube is shadow banning me or anything like that. I think just all new channels struggle with this because it's just this like mindless algorithm that, if you just get a chance day, everything's focused on chance. You just have to keep maintain a consistent level of work product that eventually hope like the Y-Files was like that. Like it took AJ forever to build his channel up and his content was superb from like the instant he started. So, oh, David, you'll I don't know if you'll like I don't know if you'll like my the segment I have on Bud Light, but I had you'll understand why when you watch it why I had to do that because I try to avoid all this stuff. But I think the point there is that whole thing is all about there's like a lightning rod. It would be like putting Donald Trump as the spokesperson for the New York Times, like that sort of thing. but that's not why I did it. You'll understand at the very beginning why I did it, but it's more about what the crazy of the Matrix, and you'll see. I have a very personal tie, let's just say, to that controversy, and it's not about anything about the controversy other than who's dealing with it. So anyway, just give it a chance. I get through all the other stuff first, but just watch it halfway through, and then you'll see why. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Only in that I think both sides can agree that this stuff needs to be understood and needs to come out. This is almost like one of the rare things where I think both the left and the right actually have common ground, right? Where they can agree that there's some like superior intelligence out there in the world. We really should figure out what it is and what it wants. So that's correct, and that's why I was a little nervous about posting it, but it's relevant in the sense that we all kind of live in a matrix. But folks who've watched it through will, I think tell you I kind of was able to do it in a way that was not divisive. But I did say one thing. Frank, who's also left leaning, he caught me on one thing. I'm like, yeah, that's a little. There's like one thing I say that's not fair, but you'll see when you see it. But most of it, but like in like 24 minutes of content, it's almost irrelevant. Yeah, that works. 100% that works. Yep. Huh. Oh yeah, it's that fibrous stuff. It's a little creepy. I mean, that might be the man-made natural disaster that Lynn Buchanan saw, for all we know, right? And by the way, who knows if it's the V word or the actual C word that did it, right? We don't know. Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, a lot of people do that, and I don't really. I feel like it's pandering, but I was just there because I support Jack. Like Jack's been on this show, or at least 2 episodes on this show, and I think I shared the Zoom with him, so I've also been on his show. So, in fact, I actually sent him an email. I was going to ask. I invited him to come on just to talk about the UAP hearings, but I did it like today, and he was kind of going somewhere. But he would have totally been on. So maybe next time. Maybe I just got to give him like a month in advance or something like that, because he said if he wasn't going out tonight for something, like he would have been on. So yeah, he's a good dude. I like him a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm trying to ground in that. Like sometimes I slip, but it's not. Again, tonight was a really there's like a very specific reason I had to talk about it, because it's kind of endemic. It is related to the sort of topics we cover about the nature of reality, because it's too coincidental, like too synchronistic in terms of what I'm talking about, that to be complete. I mean, it could be complete chance, but who knows? It's just that reality is a weird thing. All right, what other questions do folks have? Because I think we're see, here's the dilemma I'm kind of confronting right now. So, like the highest, like the peak of people attending the live sessions is like right now, whereas earlier it was like 1, 3. So I'm torn on whether or not I should just take the win and end now, or if people want me to stay on. I'm happy to stay on because I enjoy talking to you all. Let's see. So you guys let me know. Oh. Yeah, I started watching it last night, but I have to finish it. I have to finish it tonight. And there was also was it Green Street, the guy at the New York Post, who's like a super skeptic. He published his like last episode the same day it came out, and again, he just it's kind of over the top in a bad way. Interesting. I'm sorry to hear about that, David. Have you uh have you actually heard from her since then? That's kind of a weird question, but not heard from her, but like, has anything strange happened? Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that's been happening to me lately too. If you go looking for it though, you'll find it. So that's part of the question. Like, is it that you're just seeing it because of pareidolia, um, or not pareidolia, but there's something anadolia or something like that that means you see connections where there otherwise aren't. But um, when you go to sleep tonight, just ask your subconscious to ask her to show you a sign, and then be specific about what that sign is, like something like a certain type of bird. When I don't know, I don't. I'm just a moron. I don't. I'm just kind of coming up with this stuff. But sometimes when I do that, I see some weird, like I get some weird responses. Okay, but I would say though, be specific though, with because I mean not something ridiculous, but something that's perfectly within the realm of possibility. Um, that you can verify and write it down before you go to sleep, and then just see if something happens. Just run. I, I'm sorry I sound so clinical and analytical, because I'm really sorry for your loss. But try to make of it what you can in terms of run an experiment and see if you can get some sort of sign that's a little bit more specific. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's weird. Yeah, David, I'm really sorry. If there's anything that we could talk about or do, and folks on the channel obviously want to be supportive. So I mean, if I say folks on the channel, it's just me, but I think everybody who's on the live stream just wants to be supportive. And yeah. Anyway, I don't want to dwell too much on it, but just let us know if we can help you in any way. That's all. And by the way, not to change topics, but thank you, Bruna, for that. Yeah, the problem is that I have a lot of stuff going on that's just not just this channel, that I have to like put my, uh, coal. I have to like put my whatever stick, whatever, in a bunch of different fires, the coals in a bunch of different fires, um, in order to sustain this, right? So, like, I have there was actually a call that I have with another startup that like came in today, and our power went out last night, and I had to finish that vignette that I did about Bud Light. And I just like, look, I can't do it today because I'm like so far behind that I'll just talk to you tomorrow. So there's a lot of crazy stuff that I have to do for money first to support my family, but um, it's just a matter of time and momentum in order to keep this going. But I'm one of those people who can't relax. Like if I'm not, I try to get at least one thing done every day in a positive direction. And if I don't, I get, I have problems. Yeah, my dreams have gotten strange as well, but not because I lost anyone, just because I've been a little bit more observant, I think. Yeah, I appreciate that, Bruno. And thank you for supporting it. It is what it is. Life's not fair. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. All I can do is just keep putting out good content, and eventually people will recognize it. Yeah, don't worry. I'm trying to handle it respectfully, but I'm also obviously like answering other questions and things like that. So just um again, if there's anything we can do, but you I sound like a broken record, but use it as an opportunity to see if you can maintain that relationship across that veil. But do it now. Try to do it in a healthy way, and don't be using Ouija boards and things like that. But um, just look for signs and see how that goes. What you should do is there's this guy. What's his name? Why can't I remember his name? Um, there's a guy. He's like a famous psychic medium. He's on YouTube, and he's like amazing. So they have these things. It's like for like $19, he does these readings, and you show up on the YouTube channel and things like that. But this guy's like a New York Times bestseller and things like that. Why can't I remember his name? Uh, does anybody know what I'm talking about? Who I'm talking about? Is it Matt Frazier? His last name is Frazier, but just look it up. I highly encourage you to do one of those readings. He will blow your mind. So Jack Connor had something like that, where he had some like weird digestive problem, and then he started doing Reiki, and I think it just went away. You need to buy a lot more because the stock price is down 3.5%, and Coors is up like 10.5%, something like that. So if you shorted Anheuser Busch and bought Bud Light, you'd have a nice healthy 15% return. But anyway, you watch the beginning of the video, you understand where I'm coming from. It's not a big deal, but I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I try to go to the like I went to Lake Tahoe a few weeks ago and just walked around the lake a little bit, and I felt a little bit better. And I like to be around the snow sometimes because I'm from the East Coast, so it definitely helps. But I need to go on walks outside. There's like a park behind my house, and I don't do that as often as I should, and as a result, I'm getting fat. So I will get to that, but I need to get to a sustainable level on this channel first before. And by sustainable, I need to get it to at least 100,000 so that there's enough to support investing in things that'll make my life a little bit easier, like getting a new laptop at some point because this thing is like slow when it's processing these like high like 4K videos. I need to do something with get a faster modem so that I can do these live streams with better. The thing is, I don't need to do that stuff yet, but it would help in terms of processing faster and all that sort of stuff. But I don't until I get to that level. I don't. It's not worth making the investment. I kind of have everything I need right now. Oh, really? That's definitely creepy. I mean, what happened? Like, what did you see? Yep. Yep. Yeah, there's an author who John Langan who I've interviewed and who's appeared in two anthologies that I put out. And he's a horror writer, and he runs with this concept, but it ends up being like a giant like cosmic bug zapper, and in the one of the short stories he writes, one of these people kind of veers away from the light and does something different. But anyway, I'm just going to go down and probably complete your story. Ah, okay. I mean, I was expecting something like horrific, like terrifying. Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I made the point that it's not about that. I think the reason the consumers are angry about Bud Light is imagine if it's about choosing a controversial figure that is emblematic of the other side of the culture war. So imagine if you have a brand. So the analogy I used is imagine if the New York Times hired Donald Trump as its mascot, right? Like subscriptions would go down like meaningfully, and it would be solely because they chose a lightning rod from one side or another. That's what it's about. Because Molson Coors, people are switching to Molson Coors, and they're very supportive of LGBT rights and just and then rights like the community and things like that. And so, and Bud was as well, the entire time. Like, I don't think it's about that. I think it's just about um, it's just like advocating a lightning, having a lightning rod for the other side, quote unquote. Whereas a large portion of the consumers are working class people who see that as an insult. That's all. I think that's what it's about. Anything else though? Or was it? Yeah, that's a whole other. That's a whole other thing. Is that the NDE or is that with the other thing? Yeah, I've heard things like that too. I interviewed somebody, Angela Ford, who was like became like a star, was inside a star at one point. Yeah, I think they do. I don't think that's again. It's just I don't think there's any reason not to support any particular group. Again, it's all about choosing a lightning rod as your mascot that doesn't fit with the brand. Yeah, guys, let's not. Let's not. Because again, if you watch the video, the point was not kind of taking any sides. It's just that a side was taken in the culture war by a company that's traditionally on the other side of the culture war. That's basically what it's about. Mm. Okay, so it's independent of the NDE. Yeah, again, like I was worried about doing that one thing. Again, the reason I did it is because of the experience I had with an individual who's associated with, and it's not Dylan Mulvaney, um, but it's just weird how things happen. All right, talk to you soon, Bruno. Thank you, David. And I'm sorry to hear about your girlfriend. I just let me know, like in future videos, just in the comments section, how things are going. And just be well. And thank you for coming along, and thank you for watching the channel. I appreciate it. Good night. All right. Should I stay on? Because like there's still plenty of people. It is like 2 hours and 18 minutes. So, all right, why don't we I'll give it a minute, and if I don't hear anything, I will I will close shop. So, let's see. Yeah, because I'm seeing the live. So I see like 19, 14. So when it's 2:20:14, I'll if there's no more questions, I'll close up shop. I got 2 more questions. Hold on. Oh my God, Dan! Tell me you watched the episode. Do you remember back in high school? I don't know if you were there. I don't know if you were in gym class, but uh, you remember Whitworth, right? I have not read Robert Rigby. Okay, so did you see the 24 minutes? By the way, everyone, Dan went to high school with me. So was I how accurate did you hear the story when you were in high school? Were you there? I don't remember if you were in my gym class. So were you there when that happened? And if you were, was it accurate? Because again, this is my side of the story. So you know, I try to be objective, but I don't know if I was. And you know what? The other thing too is I'm only seeing like the number of people I think on YouTube, so there might be more people that are there. But was that accurate? Oh man. Do you remember what happened in like freshman year in gym class? Uh, I don't want to say the names of like the teacher or whatever, but you remember when we were playing? I don't know if you were there. I don't know if you were in that. Did you have did you have there were two gym teachers. One began with a W and the other began with a T. Which of the two did you have? Did you have the one that began? Don't say their names because I don't want any notoriety or anything. Oh, it's literally if you just go to just just go to the like earlier portion of the live stream, and there's about a 24-minute portion where I start talking about the Bud Light controversy. You know why I'm talking about the Bud Light controversy, right? You know who the CEO of Bud Light is, right? Please tell me no, because I'm gonna blow your mind. I'm absolutely gonna blow your mind. Good night, Millie. Okay. Uh, which gym teacher did you have in high school? Was it Mr. T or was it Mr. W as a freshman? Okay. All right. Do you ever remember playing softball in gym class? I should stop teasing. You have to watch it. You have to watch it. I tried to be as fair as I could, but um and I don't know if you heard. Thank you so much. Have a great night, my friend. All right. I don't know if you. I will 1 second. I'm waiting because I'm not sure. I mean, I brought this like 32 years ago. I brought this one way back from the past because I mean, you ultimately went to the Naval Academy, I think, right, Dan? Um, I know that you went to the Naval preparatory school and all that stuff, and then I can't remember what you did in the Navy though. I want to say you kind of did the pilot thing, but I can't remember. You may also might have done surface warfare or something like that. Although I do have a memory of you being in your car and it was raining and you were driving like a maniac. I can't remember why I was in your car, but like it's like super slippery and stuff like that. Okay. Do you remember that? Yeah. Yeah, you're bringing back old memories, man. I think you're probably the only one. Yeah, why don't I do this? Um, yeah, so yeah, I think I mean it's been like 2.5 hours, but um, hmm. I want to give you my phone number, but can you just put your email down there, and I'll send you or your phone number. I'll just send you a text real quick, and then I have to shut this down. But let's catch up, like literally right after, if you got time. Um, yeah, either like your email or phone number, and then what I can do is I can either text you my phone number or uh, I don't know. Um, do something like that. Because here's the thing: if you put it on, if I put it on here now, I repost these things, so it's still gonna be available after for replay. So it's not like nobody will see it because there's usually 80 to 90 views I get on the replay, at least at this stage. But people still watch the old ones. Let me see. There's like a private. Yeah, that's fair. Let's see. Um, let me see if there's a. I'm just figuring out some of the functionality here. Yeah, yeah, I do. Um, let me see. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out if. Yeah, so actually, just go to my. Yeah, I could put my email address on here because it's publicly available anyway. So just email me here. Uh, just send me an email. But here's what I'll do: is I'll close this out, and then I'll send you my number, and then just give me a call, and we'll catch up. All right. Well, regardless, for everybody else who was on, I've been on for almost 2.5 hours, so I'm gonna shut things down. And it was, as always, an absolute pleasure. And we'll see you all soon.